Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Layout to Lineside. Today is my first ever review video where we'll be taking a look at not only the parcel shown on screen, but also a second parcel. So today we're taking a look at, firstly, these Sam's Trains wagons which recently arrived with me from Sam's latest instalment of Era 1 wagons, and then later on we'll also be taking a look at that model Railway Guys exclusive wagons which also recently shipped. Now, before I go any further, any criticism made in this review is not a criticism of Sam. I'm a regular viewer of his, I love his channel, but I want to be honest with what I get here. So firstly, let's see what's in this box. I was actually quite surprised at how small this was, for the fact that I've got two wagons in here, but you know, as long as the wagons are decently protected, then I don't really mind how big the box is. So let's try to get into here first. Yes, that would be a good start to an unboxing video, wouldn't it? Opening the box. And very well packaged, as you can see. Have packaging peanuts in the box. And if I start to take some of these out, you'll see in the bottom, we've got the wagons, which, yeah, they look like they are very well wrapped. So as you can see, I don't know how well you can see those, but we have the bubble wrap bags. So there is the first wagon, and there is the second. Then there are two accessory bags here. So I will move all this packaging material out of the way. Then we will take these wagons out of their packaging and see what they're like. Okay, and with all the packaging materials out of the way, you can get a good look at these wagons. However, first, there are two accessory packs. Now, in his launch video, Sam went over what came in these. However, as you can see here, we have, I believe, 3 chain couplings per wagon accessory pack, so 6 in total. So, as you can see, there are 2 of the short ones and 1 longer one, if you need a bit more clearance, which will probably be the one I'll have to use on my layout, since I unfortunately have quite tight radius curves. And then we also have much smaller, finer chain couplings, which are to go on the wagon itself, and you can glue those in place. I probably won't be doing those in that video because it will be a very fiddly, potentially slightly time-consuming job. However, they are there as an option if you want to fit them. However, I probably won't need my scissors. Now, I believe I've yapped on for too long about these wagons, so we will get these out. And yeah, Sam's definitely done a good job of wrapping these. Yeah, so as you can see, they come in a little folded bubble wrap bag, and inside is a wagon. So first we have got the physically weathered version, and I always watch Sam's product launch videos. I never realised quite how small these things are. Whoops. However, yes, as you can see, these are brilliant, and yeah, I went for the physically weathered version because I do think the physical weathering always looks brilliant in the photos, and on first glances, it really does not disappoint. So, with that, I'm very happy with that one. However, I ordered a second. So that first one was the physically weathered variant. This second one is the plain black variant. And I decided I'd get this just for a nice little bit of variety. So, there we go. Here it is. And again, it's nicely detailed. I think this one is a little less aesthetically pleasing to me. However, the paint looks good and the detailing is certainly very fine. Almost to a professional standard, I'd say, of the detailing. The only slight letdown is, and I think this is something not only I've noticed, but a lot of people notice, how thick the sides of the wagon are. Although these earlier Era 1 wagons, that might be prototypical, but yeah, that will always be a drawback of resin printing, I suppose. However, on the whole, these two wagons look brilliant. The one thing I do notice is that the black wagon doesn't seem to have a coal load. So I have just noticed now that is because it is still in the bag. All these cold loads, they just drop in. Nice snug fit into the wagons, and yeah, they look decent. Not the most realistic coal loads ever, but again, these don't come right up to the top of the wagons, so if you wanted to, you could certainly add a sprinkling of coal dust over those to make them look a little more realistic. On the whole, I think these wagons are brilliant though, and bearing in mind that these are all 3D printed and assembled by one person at home, I think these are a brilliant example of what can be achieved using modern technology. I've got another parcel. So this is my That Model Railway Guy wagon, which I also pre-ordered back in December when he announced them. So I decided that whilst I still was filming this project, I'd do a double unboxing video. And first thing, I didn't realise these were going to be supplied. It's a wagon, but that is a wagon load support, and this is true to scale mainline coal. So I didn't realise these would be included, but I think it's a very, very nice inclusion. I didn't realise that True to Scale made these. But yeah, these are very nice. So I probably will test these out at some point. Again, probably not in this video, like I said, with the Sam's Trains accessories. However, it's a nice inclusion. And below the unexpected little extras was the wagon itself. Now, I will just say, That Model Railway Guy, unlike Sam, hasn't actually made these himself. These were exclusively made, or rather printed, I assume, by the wagon yard onto Oxford Rail's standard 7-plank wagons. Very nice. So again, we'll get this unboxed, then I will run this with the Sam's Trains wagons later on. So, oh, what was that? So, I don't like to start on a negative, however, that is a buffer. That small thing you see in my hand is a buffer. So, yes, that is not a brilliant start, however, we'll get a look at the wagon and hopefully that is just a one-off. So, for now, I'm hopefully just going to be able to slot the buffer back in there, and hopefully that won't be too detrimental. Overall though, the quality does seem decent. I haven't owned many Oxford Rail wagons before. The only one I've owned before is a Great Western Railway wagon, which one of my friends got me for my birthday a little while back. But yeah, overall the detailing's certainly decent. Now, see, it's not on the same level as Rapido, however, this was £25, and the standard ones and the retailers tend to come in at a much lower price, and I think, as That Model Railway Guy said in his launch video, this offers the perfect balance between detail and a good price point. So, I'll get this down onto the track for the Sam's Trains wagons. I won't go into loads of detail on the detail here, as I'm sure you've all seen an Oxford Rail wagon before, but the paint job certainly looks nice. As you can see, we have the channel logo on the front there, and a few little Easter eggs, so return to Pitley, or rather just Pitley 2026. He did announce these back in 2025, but obviously they've only just been shipped out, and yeah, sure enough, on the bottom, I don't know if you can read that, but it does say Oxford. So these are Oxford Rail wagons, but they are very nice. So I'll try to run this with the Sam's Trains wagons. However, I doubt I'll be able to due to the different types of couplings. So what I'll probably do is run one on one line and one on the other, and just put this in with some of my other private owner wagons. So let's get all of these wagons down onto the layout, and yeah, let's get some trains running. But first, I wanted to test to see how free-rolling the wagons were. So I started off with the That Model Railway Guy wagon, as this, of course, technically is professionally manufactured by Oxford Rail. So I put this at the top of my incline, and it didn't want to move at all. However, when I moved it a little further down, it did start rolling, and it eventually made it to my lower level station, and stopped just by the start of the platform. So yeah, the That Model Railway Guy wagon was decently free-rolling, And though it's not the most free-rolling wagon, it did make it a decent distance from the point at the bottom of my incline, so that gets a pass. Next I tried the Sam's Trains wagons, which were even more free-rolling. First I tried a physically weathered one, and whilst I'm aware these were originally intended by Sam to sit in a siding or just look unused, they are the same design as different variants which are meant to be run, so I tested it anyway. And this was brilliant, and it rolled a very long way and even into my tunnel. So I was going to come round here to film where it had ended up, so there's that model railway guy wagon. The Sam's Trains wagon is in the tunnel. In fact, I probably could have stayed where I was to film this, because it actually almost completed an entire lap of my layout, having started up here on the incline and finished roughly halfway through my tunnel, so probably 10 or 15 centimetres away from where it had started. And what makes it even more impressive is about half of this was on a very, very gentle uphill slope. So finally, I'm going to test the wagon with the coal load, so the plain black one. Again, I'll put it down in about the same spot, and hopefully this one will go even further because of the extra weight. Well, it turns out I was wrong. This one didn't go quite as far as the physically weathered one here, which obviously ended up in the tunnel over there. However, that is still very good. Again, the point at the bottom of the incline is over there. So yeah, overall, that model railway guy wagon, decently free rolling, but Sam's Era 1 wagons are incredibly free rolling, and yeah, I think that is good. Again, he criticised Hornby when theirs were not free rolling, so I think this is good. It shows consistency and self-awareness to an extent as well, I suppose. So yeah, now we will actually get these running behind some trains. Now I've already filmed that section, so yeah, I'll skip back in time and show you these running around on the layout because they looked brilliant. And these are going to be our test setups for today. So on the inside line I have the That Model Railway Guy wagon, and for now that's just running as part of my private owner wagon rake with a toad on the rear and my lovely class 26 on the front. And on the inside line we have a slightly more unusual train, so I chose to go with my 56XX for this. So yes, hopefully we should have some interesting formations here, so that we'll see how all these wagons run on my layout and we'll have a little running session. So now for my conclusion on these overall wonderful wagons. So starting with the Sam's Trains Era 1 coal wagons, I think the detail is well defined and the print quality is good. There aren't any layer lines flashing, there's no warping as far as I can see, so that was all good. The overall level of detail is also good, especially bearing in mind this was made at home by one person. Decoration wise, these are brilliant. Now, the plain black livery, though basic, is well applied, and the physical weathering is not only a great idea conceptually, personally I think, but also has been well executed. In terms of performance, they ran well, and although I would advise against using screw-link couplings with these as I did try originally, which didn't work, other than that, you shouldn't have any issues. The only thing I don't like about these wagons is the fidelity of the couplings supplied. They are very fiddly and difficult to couple together, and if you had a large rake of these, I can see that being quite an issue. However, at the price point of £18 for the standard wagons or £19 for the physically weathered variants, I think these are quite good value for money. So if there are any left, I'll try to link one of them in the description. I'd recommend picking one up. And now moving on to the That Model Railway Guy wagon, I think here the detail level is a bit better than that of the Sam's Trains wagons, being a professionally manufactured wagon. So again, good moulding quality and a decent overall level of detail. It's not quite up to the same standard as some of my wagons from Rapido or Kerno models, but I think this is reflected in the lower price point. And again, the decoration here is really good, I'd say. So the one thing which I did find wrong with this wagon out of the box was a buffer fell off, and whilst this wasn't missing, it was still in the box, it is a tiny bit disappointing from a quality standpoint. That said, I was able to just glue this straight back in, so overall I don't think it's a huge deal, just something to be aware of, and that I'll just reiterate here for the sake of transparency. Performance-wise, the wagon ran flawlessly, and it's decently free-rolling as well, although it's not brilliant. So overall, for the price point, I think for £25 it's a little bit expensive, but certainly it's not a rip-off by any means, and it's decent value considering what you get, and how it is, of course, custom to the That Model Railway Guys channel. So yeah, overall I'm really happy with all these wagons. If any of them are still available, I will try to link them down in the description. But yeah, for now, thank you for watching. That will be the end of this video. If you liked this review and you think I should do more, comment down below and let me know. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.